In this video, we're going to talk about the top 3 mistakes that I made on my journey to meet, attract, and get married to my dream woman. If you don't know who I am, my name is Daniel Neef. I've been a dating coach for the last 2 years. I've helped over 250 men meet, attract, and date their forever woman. And none of this would have ever happened if I didn't start going out and approaching girls 5 or 6 years ago. And during that time, I learned lots of things. I made lots of mistakes and fell flat on my face multiple times. I got rejected more times than you can even count. And doing the math on hand, just by guessing, I've probably approached over 2 or 3 thousand women. So you can see I wasted a lot of time and made a lot of mistakes. So let's start with the first mistake. Let's dive right in. The first thing I see a lot of guys do is what I call fishing in the wrong pond. A big mistake that I made was just going out to bars and clubs thinking that that's where you're going to meet lots of people because everyone tells you, to do that. That's where people go out, socialize, hang, grab a beer with your friend, whatever. And while that might be something that's good to do when you want to get some volume in, what happens is you prioritize quantity of girls over quality of connection. See, what happens is you go out and you approach thousands of women or hundreds and you approach a lot every single night and you just waste lots of time talking to people who you have zero interest with. You have no commonalities, no common things you can even start a conversation with. So you're kind of just starting from ground zero and having to learn how to build a connection really fast. The other problem is a lot of girls go to bars for validation. It's the same reason why they like to swipe on dating apps and waste your time. And that's why I say you want to make sure you're fishing in the right pond. Now, what does that mean? Well, it depends on who you are and what type of girl you want to get. A lot of people don't talk about this or don't even think about this, which is the fact that girls are all different. There's so many different types of women out there. And so really you have to decide the type of woman that you want to get. I made a video about this called the 4 archetypes of women and how there's different, elements, like there's a fire, a water, earth, and air, and those different type of women have different things and qualities and characteristics they show, which is going to manifest in your relationship. And the same thing is true when it comes to, what qualities that or ways that you're going to attract them. What are you going to say? How are you going to talk? What type of conversations are you going to have? So that's really important. But the other thing is realizing that, like, if you find someone who has common interests with you, it makes the conversation a lot easier to have because you already know you have something that you're in common with. So one thing that you can do is to go to meetup groups or, certain hobbies you have. Like, for example, I used to be really into rock climbing. So when I started going to the rock gym, I would just start conversations with people around me, which kind of leads me to another point, which is you have to be someone who's willing to go out and socialize a lot. I know I mentioned here about not prioritizing quantity, but quantity does play a factor. If you're only talking to 1 or 2 girls every single week, what are the chances or the odds of you finding your dream girl, right? How often are you likely to have a real connection with this person? It's very unlikely. The odds are just not stacked in your favor. So you do need some quantity, but you shouldn't have so much quantity that you're just approaching everything that you just see. So it's learning where the places that these people are going to be. And that means you have to sit down and think about what is the type of girl I want. If I'm more into a girl who's maybe a little bit more calm and someone who can make my life better, and maybe she's into education or self-improvement, I'm probably going to meet her at a coffee shop or a bookstore, or maybe at some kind of meetup event about, self-improvement or making yourself better, or biohacking events. I used to live in Austin, Texas, and that was a huge thing over there. People are always going to these biohacking events. And so if I wanted to meet a girl who was into health, I would go do that. If I wanted to meet a girl who was into some type of specific sport that I'm into, I'm going to go to that thing. But it starts with knowing what the exact type of girl you want. Otherwise, you're going to waste so much time just talking to people you have no common interest with. Now, if your goal is just to hook up with a bunch of girls, then sure, maybe you could do that, but it's just a waste of time. And really, you just end up feeling like, why am I even doing this? Right? Guys that are actually on their path to become a better man, who are prioritizing business and health and wealth and everything else in their life, they don't have time for a bunch of mindless hookups. They don't have time for any of that. They want to find someone because they recognize that having someone in your life who can support you is the most important decision you're going to make in your entire life. It's the reason why you see people who are really successful, most of the time they have someone by their side, like a wife or a strong girlfriend or someone who they're engaged to. And so once you understand that, you stop prioritizing that, you stop fishing in the wrong ponds, and you start going to the right places. Now, when you do go to these meetup events or you do go to rock climbing, you just have a normal conversation. Maybe someone just, did really well, and you go, "Hey, I've actually never seen you here. My name's Daniel," or you just have a conversation about something that they just did at that specific event. Maybe it's painting, or maybe it's you go to run clubs and you start talking about, "Wow, like you really crushed it today. That's awesome." Like, whatever. You just make a conversation. Now, where a lot of people get this wrong and why they don't like this method and they like to go to bars is because it's a lot of guys who are into pickup tricks and what I call like flash in the pan attraction tactics. They can, go out and talk to lots of girls and maybe build attraction really quick and use all these little tricks that get some girl who is, insecure or is really just hooking up with you to feel confident about herself or has low self worth or doesn't really have respect for herself. And so, sure, you might get the attention of that type of girl, but you're not going to get the attention of the type of girl that you want, which is someone who's going to make your life better and not be a headache. So a lot of these guys, what they're doing is they like going to bars because they know that they can meet the type of girls and use these little tricks to get her. And then, but if they go outside of that, they don't know how to build a real connection. And so what happens is you put them in this environment and they try really hard to build a fast connection, which just doesn't work. It happens over time. So the big thing is you're not just going to like hit on her and then try and go out with her that exact day. It's a slow process. Maybe over a few times you see her at that event. But that's the thing that's good about it is because you're going to this event or maybe it's the gym, you're going to see them pretty often. And so you can start to build the relationship over time and make small comments, little statements, things here and there, and you can carry the conversation from there. But it gives you an easy in because you already know you have a common interest. If you're at the gym, you're into working out. If you're at the biohacking event, you're both into health, so you can just bond over that thing. You see, humans like to be around people who have shared interests, values, and morals to us because it makes us feel close and safe. We have safety in tribes. So if you think about your friends, a lot of them probably have similar interests to you. And same thing with, it's why nurses tend to date other people in healthcare professionals, why, cops tend to date other cops because they just get each other. They understand each other. There's already that common interest, that commonality. Now, the next mistake that I see you guys make is always being the nice guy who's afraid to rock the boat. Now, this is a big one for me because I was always scared to challenge women or test them or filter or create tension. Now, tension and challenging a woman is important for sparking attraction. She's not looking for some wussy who's just going to roll over the second she tries to test him because she is going to test you and she wants to feel the strength of your masculinity. You see, nowadays, a lot of guys have been feminized into not being one to stand up for what they believe in and are basically just like a doormat to women. You have to have this energy of you're not just going to take shit from some girl just because she's attractive. It's like, what else do you have to offer besides being a hot girl? Like, I don't need that. I have plenty of options in my life. What else do you have to bring to the table? That's the energy you have to bring. But you can't bring that if you're being a nice guy, if you're going up with this energy of, I need something from you. I care so much about this interaction because it's going to boost my ego and I can tell my friends about how I got your number or something like that. It doesn't work that way. You have to go up with the energy of, I'm just here to see who you are and what you're about. I just want to have a simple conversation. I'm not rushing things. The best way to think about it is, how would a guy who already has a lot of options in his life, how would he act? Is he going to be willing to just like make jokes and, say something that's funny or challenge the girl, see what she's really about? Of course. He's not just going to roll over and just automatically agree with everything she says. Or, it's like this desperate clinging onto the girl. You're trying so hard to make it work because this is like the only interaction you're going to have for a while. And once a girl starts to show any little signs of interest, You're just jumping on that, hoping so hard that it's going to work, but that's not how it happens. And so it's being willing to make some jokes, challenge, tease her, and do these different things that are going to show her that you're grounded in your energy and you're not willing to just take shit. The other reason it's important to do this is if you don't do this and you don't screen her and figure out if she's the type of girl that could fit into your life, if you don't ask these type of questions, which goes back to this thing about, right here, fishing in the right pond, if you don't know who the right girl is, then how could you possibly ever know the right questions to ask to filter her? You can't, because you don't know what the type of girl is that you even want in your life. So first off, you're not going to know where to even find her. And then on top of that, you're not going to ask the right questions, which is going to screen her to figure out if she's even going to fit into your life. And this is the reason why most guys don't have a girlfriend and don't actually attract the type of woman they want to attract. They're just throwing darts at the wall, hoping that somehow they'll figure it out. But it never works like that. It's just like in business. If you want to get to a certain point in your career or in your business or whatever, you make a game plan. You figure out exactly where you're going to go, what you're going to do, how it's going to happen. And the same thing in your dating life. You have to figure out exactly where you want to go, how it's going to happen, and you go and do it. You don't just hope that you just, swipe away your life and maybe somehow the girl's going to land in your lap. It doesn't happen. You have to go out there and take life and make it happen. So this leads me to the last mistake, which is not realizing how female attraction is completely different to male attraction. You see, men, what happens is we're very visual. We see an attractive girl and we're ready to go. We're like a light switch. You're like, I'm on. Like, that girl's attractive. Boom, I would hook up with her right now. But women are a lot more emotional. They want to feel how they are around you. So it takes time for her to become attracted or interested in you, which kind of leads back to the thing I mentioned about the why pickup guys like to go to the bars and not in these other environments, because it takes a lot longer to build attraction. Real, genuine, authentic attraction. Because when you're trying to talk to her on this emotional level, you're not connecting with her about your achievements or your resume or all the cool things you've done in your life that you think she would be impressed by. This is what guys think women want. We're like, oh, she's going to care so much about my car or how jacked I am or how much money I make or, how I got this big promotion or I work in finance. Like, girls do not care about that. They might care about it some because, yes, one of the triggers of attraction is, can this guy provide for me? But you don't want to just become some guy who's just a provider, little beta male who's just providing for her all the time and buying her all these things and she doesn't actually like you for you. So you have to understand that there's these differences. So if you understand that, then how do you attract it? Well, you understand that you have to create an emotional experience, an emotional response, which comes back to this being willing to challenge her, creating tension, making jokes, being willing to rock the boat. That creates that tension. That's why they even call it tension in the first place, because it's called sexual tension. You're creating that tension that's needed to create the sexual tension, which leads to the next part, which is a big part of building chemistry. To have the chemistry with a woman, you have to have that flow, that feeling, and that emotion. Right? Attraction is a feeling. If I ask you even what it is, you couldn't really describe it to me. Like, go ahead and think right now, what is attraction? You can't really put your finger on it. There's no real thing there. It's something that comes as a feeling. And that feeling is generated through the emotional response and the emotional experience that she's going to have with you. That's why I'm not a big fan of going on dinner dates, because there's no emotional experience there. I want to go do some activity or something fun, something that we're both into, and then maybe have like a picnic or something interesting where I can create that emotional experience. She can feel good on the date, not sitting there talking about logical stuff. This is the reason why a lot of guys who are successful struggle with women, because they're trying to logic their way in there. They're trying to buy their way to attraction, but you can't do that. A woman has to feel attraction for you. And so the way that you do that, the way you do build the attraction is you take a step back and you go, okay, if it's a feeling and I can't logic my way there, well, then how do I do that? Well, you do certain things like what I call like a conversation curveball, where the girl says something and she says like, "What do you do for work?" Well, most guys are like, "Oh, I don't know, I work in finance." There's no value in that. There's no like nothing's felt from it. So you can make a joke. You could say something like, "Oh, like actually, I'm not sure if I can tell you." And she's like, "What? What do you mean?" Well, um, yeah, I get, I'm secretly like a spy. Yeah, I probably shouldn't tell you though. I'm probably gonna like eliminate you now. And then she's gonna laugh because it's like a joke. It's stupid, but it's a joke. Then you can tell her what you do for real. Same thing with all the other stuff. When she asks you certain questions, don't just logically answer every single time. Sometimes you can, but for the most part, you're throwing these curveballs. So that's the way you want to think about it. Those are the three mistakes that I made in my journey: fishing in the wrong pond, not being willing to rock the boat, and not realizing the difference between male and female attraction. Now, if you want to learn more about how this works, I created an entire program. I walk you step by step how to meet, attract, and get dates with girls in real life, preferably how to find your forever woman. You can click the link in the bio and you'll learn more about that. Now, if you're someone who wants to get results faster and you want to work in a one-on-one environment, you can book a call with me and my team and we'll talk more. Peace.